Morning, everybody. Dave, Bluejacket 66 here on Saturday morning. Got a couple, I think, really cool pickups. One of them vintage, one of them George Brett related. I had planned on doing a snarky video on this Coppa problem that I see everybody flipping out about. It's really embarrassing, if not ridiculous, the amount of fear that's going on out there. As far as the card collecting community goes, it's absolutely ridiculous. The FTC doesn't have any interest in shutting down your YouTube channel because you're showing baseball cards. You know, I suppose if you're on the floor of your basement surrounded by toddlers, not wearing any pants, playing with Gumby and Hot Wheel cars, it may be a little different. Come on, people. Okay, we're talking about baseball cards here. Do kids like baseball cards? Yeah, they do. We're not hurting anybody here. So, I had a big presentation made out. I had visuals. It was really funny, but I decided not to do it because there's it's just too much. It's too much. Everything's going to be fine. You know, the outrage should really be against YouTube, right? Who's stealing the privacy rights and information from children. Okay, that's where this all comes from, but you're really not hearing any of that, are you? You're hearing about you worrying about your YouTube channel and whether or not you showing baseball cards, you're going to get fined $42,000. Do you really think that you're going to be charged or fined $42,000 for a video for showing baseball cards because kids may like baseball cards? Do you really think that? There's no way I can reassure you if you do believe that. Okay, I can try to reassure you on a couple things. Let's start with the Yellowstone supervolcano. It's a huge threat. I think if it exploded and it would devastate most of the West and Midwest, all the way probably over to Kentucky or so. I think the last major eruption that was was 500,000 years ago. Before that, 1 million, and then 2 million years ago. But I want to reassure you that, as far as I know, there's several very large magnedomes, and right now they're only 8 to 12% molten magma, and I think you have to get up to 50% before there's a high risk of explosion. So let me reassure you that I don't think that there's any imminent threat of the Yellowstone supervolcano exploding. Let me reassure you that I don't think alien abductions are real. I do, you know, if you study at all physics and quantum physics and astrophysics, it's without question, I think that there's other life forms out there and maybe alternative worlds of what we live in now. But the fact is, for them to get here is really unfathomable unless you believe you can travel through black holes, you know, in a black hole, out a white hole. But if you actually know anything about black holes, that's not a survivable thing. So, you know, it would take millions and 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 billions of years for any life form to get to Earth because of distances of nearby stars and systems and having to travel the speed of light. So I think alien abductions, you're probably safe from that. The zombie apocalypse, I'm not real sure on. I'll agree, I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm more worried about that, than I am being fined for the FTC for making baseball card videos on YouTube. There's a lot of crazy viruses out there, a lot of genetic manipulation. So I don't think I could probably completely calm your nerves on that, and I'm not an authority on that, but the zombie apocalypse is probably something to watch out for. So as far as this, you making baseball card videos and being worried about fined, I think, number one, you need to study off of YouTube, I think, a little bit, and maybe take a look at maybe our United States Constitution, specifically the 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution. And I don't think you're going to feel that you're going to be, someone's going to track you down and fine you an exorbitant amount of money. I think you should kind of look around your house. If your wife or girlfriend or lover finds you sobbing by your YouTube video and incessantly searching about Coppa and how it's going to affect your channel, it's going to be a little bit of a turn off to them. And yeah, she may be holding your hand down at the farmer's market this Sunday, but I think in the back of her mind, she's probably going to be maybe thinking about David Hasselhoff or Fabio. So just chill out on this. I think it's going to be okay, and I'm not changing a thing, and really you shouldn't either. We have signs of problems. There'll be signs of problems. You know, when in the miners in the 19th century, possibly even earliest 20th century, there's a lot of noxious gases down there with sulfides and carbon monoxide. And remember, they had those little canaries hanging around in canary cages deep down in the mines because they had such a high metabolism. If there was even low levels of carbon monoxide or noxious or fatal gases, the canaries would drop over dead, and that would be a warning to the miners, there's gases down here, we got to get out of here. Well, us in our YouTube community, we have our own little canary, and it will be the first to go that should there be a problem out there with the FTC going after people or YouTube's striking down channels, and his name is Pepino Man. Do you really think someone's shutting down your channel before they shut down his? The man wears chicken outfits and runs around and jumps in pools in his underwear. I feel pretty good about my channel, okay? But if he goes, yeah, maybe you should have second thoughts. So let's look at a couple new acquisitions that I think are super cool. One of them is ultimately rare. My 1,000 subscriber contest that I got going on, I intentionally didn't write 1,000 subscriber contests across the video because I didn't want to attract people that are just attracted to contests. And it is for people that have subscribed to me prior to my posting that video. And I encourage, especially my regular viewers, to check into that and to follow the instructions on that. And I send out letters. I've got 30 of them to go out today that may or may not contain a golden ticket, which would enter you into the contest. It's fairly random. It's especially random amongst people that I don't know well or who are relatively recent subscribers. Those subscribers that I've known now for a year and a half, and that who are always commenting on my channel, I drew their envelopes from a different pile that had a higher proportion of golden tickets in it. Do I know who is getting golden tickets? No. But I do know that people that have been with me forever, that I know, that will call me up and ask me questions and send my kids birthday presents, that their name is being drawn from a stack that has a very high proportion of golden tickets on it. If you just subscribed a month ago and you've never commented on my channel, I don't think you're quite as deserving as a chance of those other people at a 1960 Mickey Mantle card. And that may get me a thumbs down, but that's just I'm trying to be honest here. But everybody does have a chance, and everybody gets drawn from a pile with randomness, so whether or not there's a golden ticket or not. And I'm sure some people that have never commented on one of my videos and maybe just subscribed 2 months ago and let it go are going to get a golden ticket. That's great. So, God, there's some great auctions coming up. Heritage, I'm not a huge fan of Heritage because they can shill their own auctions. If you look deep in their catalog, their employees and Heritage themselves can bid on items in the auction. That's why sometimes you'll see items in their auction sell, and then guess what? They're up again in their next auction because you know what? They bought it because it was going too low. They won't. I don't. You know, they're not going to allow their consigners to shill their own items, presumably. But essentially, when you're bidding against Heritage as well, possibly on an item, and that's. It's just because they're in Texas, I think. I think in Texas that is quote unquote legal. Elsewhere it would be quite illegal, and I find it very unethical. But anyway, that auction's closing the first part of December. Also, the Robert Edwards auction is closing in early December as well. I can't remember if it's the 7th or 8th. That is a fantastic auction with the highest of integrity and the highest quality of items. If nothing else, go to the auction and just run through the items and learn about baseball cards and learn about some sports memorabilia, and that's a great way to learn things. I mean, I am constantly learning by seeing items in some of these higher tier auctions that I haven't seen before, and you read them about them and you learn a lot. A lot of people will mention, I'll show something on a video and they'll say, wow, I've never seen that before. So, I encourage you to get online, go to Amazon and get a, this is a standard catalog of vintage baseball cards. It's essentially all cards from really the inception all the way up through 1979, and it's pretty much, it is every single issue. So if you see something that you're not seen before, you look it up here and learn a little bit about it, see the checklist, see a little bit of the history about it. But this is fun. Talk about fun reading. This is fun just to flip through, and the knowledge in here is incredible. But get on Amazon and find a used one. This one is not the most recent edition. They put out editions every, I don't even know how many years, 5 years or so. It's definitely not by any means the most recent edition, but not a lot has changed on that. But anyway, check out Robert Edwards auction. I have some good stuff I'm looking at. I usually bid on I don't know, 15, 20 items just as a, hey, I'm interested in that. I just bid on them really early to put on placer bids, knowing that whatever bid I put in will be shot down within minutes. But when it comes to the last day, I kind of, not the last day, and then as the 2 weeks of the auction go along, I kind of drop off on interest on some of those, maybe throw in a little bit higher bids on ones I'm more interested in. And then the day of the auction, I kind of have come to terms which item, 2, 3, at most 3, I'm gonna go for. And maybe my interest drops off and you know what, I don't want any of these things. But that's the way I kind of work it. I start off with a whole bunch of items I put bids on that keeps them in my minds and keeps them on my bid list on the site. And then over the next few weeks, I find myself losing interest in some of them and focusing on more. And hopefully the day of the auction, there's something, if there's something that I really want, that's what I'm honing in on. And I may ultimately get it, I may ultimately not. So let's look at a couple cards here. Okay, you might recall, I think in my last video, Maiko sent me this 1985 Jiffy Pop George Brett card or / disc. Jiffy Pop is a popcorn. Back when I was a little kid, it was a popcorn that came in the aluminum type of skillet with a cardboard top that you pulled off, and there was aluminum foil on the top, and your mother just ran it back and forth across the burner until the kernel started popping, and you had this big bag of popcorn. That's what Jiffy Pop was to me now. But anyway, he got me this card. It's really cool. It says it's the first annual collector's edition. Interestingly, the trademark on there from the Major League Baseball Players Association is 1986, the following year. So this is probably made in 86. But anyway, it says 1985 Jiffy Pop. So anyway, I happened to be online and I saw this 1986 Kitty Clover potato chips disc with a Beckett authenticated autograph of George Brett. As you can see, the image is the same. There's clearly differences in the card. This was sponsored by Kitty Clover potato chips. And here where it says first annual collector's edition, on this one it says 1986 annual collector's edition, and there's mention that they were 1985 world champions. And on the back, there's little differences on the back as well. So I think that's awesome. It's a kind of a food and beverage issue and a George Brett item and an autograph item. Kitty Clover potato chips were in Kansas City when I was a kid. My mother bought Guy's, G-U-Y-S, potato chips. That's just the way it was. Just like in our house, we had Peter Pan peanut butter, and we didn't have any other type of peanut butter. We had Hawaiian Punch. We did not have High C. Our snacks were almost always the same. So, for jelly, we had the same. Our bread was Wonder Bread. Other people had butternut or whatever, but that's the way it was. And anyway, our house, we had Guy's potato chips. But there were Kitty Clover potato chips in the aisle. Certainly remember that. Our neighbors, I think they had that truck that came around, that Charles Chips truck, where they'd come and deliver big tins of potato chips. They had big, large families. But anyway, I don't know if Kitty Clover potato chips was just in this, I don't think it was just in the Kansas City area, but if it was just Midwest or where else it was. If you had Kitty Clover potato chips, let me know. If you had Guy's potato chips, let me know. But yeah, so Beckett graded the card a 9, the autograph's authentic, and you know what I was really pleased about on this round disc is they graded the corners as a 10. So kudos to Beckett for giving my corners on my round disc there a 10. But this is actually the first Beckett holdered item that I think. Now I may have a couple modern cards and Beckett holders, but I'm pretty much an SGC / PSA guy. So anyway, that was pretty cool. The other item I got in Sterling auction. I'm a big fan of Sterling auction, Sterling, not one of the big hitters, but they have Lee is the owner, and just integrity and top notch. So this is really what my collecting background is all about: type cards, pre-war cards, Hall of Famers. So this is really what Bluejacket 66 channel is all about, and this is a good representation of a candy issue from 1933, the 1933 Buttercream R306 Jimmie Foxx, rated to 2.5. You might notice that the shape of the card, it's almost bookmarkish. It's something like 1 1/4 by 3.5 inches, something like that. And they are very scarce. I think PSA has graded, oh boy, handful. We'll just say a handful. I think between PSA and SGC that perhaps there's 20 of these. There's 30 cards in the set. They have such stars at the time, such as Paul and Lloyd Wainer, Lefty Grove, Bill Terry. The big one in here is Jimmie Foxx, by far out of the 30 cards. And, out of the entire 30 cards, there is not that many graded.
to get the whole set is completely impossible. There is a Babe Ruth buttercream. I think there's 3 of those issues known. One of them just recently came out of the closet, so to speak, and I think it was an auction this spring. I think it was a SGC or PSA 5, and it brought around $200,000. So the Ruth is highly, highly sought after and is sickeningly rare. The Foxx is rare as well, and I'm really excited to have this. Here's the back, and it's kind of interesting. This is a contest. Buttercream, I don't know much about the confectionery, but evidently they put this in candy boxes, I don't know. And it says the name of the player here, and this was his batting average for the 1932 season was .364. Sorry about all that glare. But what you were supposed to do here is estimate in 1935, as of October 1st, you write in what his batting average you think it's going to be, write your name and address, and presumably you win a prize. I don't think anybody knows anything more about that. There are 2 different backs, one with this back and one where I think that you have to have your estimate in by September 1st on what you think the batting average is going to be. So I don't know when these were released in that year, but it seems to me if I got one of these, I would not send it in until, September 28th when I knew what his batting average was, and then write that here. You know what I mean? I don't. It seems to me like to get this in your candy in June and kind of guess what his average is going to be and send it in there would be put you at a disadvantage of winning the contest. But who knows what the contest was. And that's why a lot of these early issues like this and candy issues and Harrington ice cream and all these things where you get these cards and you send them back to the company, why they are so scarce is because kids presumably did just that. They sent these back to the company where they were probably, maybe some people took them home or maybe they were destroyed, and that's the end of the issue. So it's quite scarce. So there is that. Really pleased with this. This goes great in my collection. It's a candy issue, it's pre-war, it's a Hall of Famer, it's a stud Hall of Famer in Jimmie Foxx. The 1933 Buttercream R306 Jimmie Foxx. Now the R306, that's the American Card Catalog Verdicts designation, but I don't know why it's R. R is a designation for gum cards. The Goudy cards are the R designation. Candy companies and caramel companies are E designation. The American Caramel Company and E98 and Plows issue, all these other card companies, or most of them, are an E designation. So I have no idea why he designated this with an R when it's a candy issue, where R designation is typically for gum issues that you typically see of that era. So I don't know, but cool card. 1933 Buttercream. Jimmie Foxx. Okay. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later.